All right. So let's get into it. NAB 2024. I just got back from Las Vegas and it was interesting. There was a lot of really cool products. I went there with my production company, Braden Productions, handed out some merch, a couple of these new t-shirts that we printed out and gave them out to a few people. We wore them all around the show, and a lot of people gave us a lot of comments and we're like, oh, that's a cool logo, cool design. And yeah, let's talk about a little bit of products. Let's talk about some of the cool tech and some of the stuff that's there at the show that was pretty interesting, that I kind of, I don't know, I guess just thought was like notable or kind of stood out to me. The first thing was Aputure. I picked up pretty much immediately when it was released. I picked up the Sidus One, which is their DMX transceiver, which is internal CRMX, has ArtNet, and it also has Bluetooth, and it's also a Wi-Fi router. So that actually does quite a few different things. I picked up this thing so that I can basically have a way to control all of my lights, and even lights that are not Aputure lights, via DMX. Super excited about this. I've been playing around. Aputure came out with a new app, which is the Sidus Pro app, and it's still kind of in its beta phase, so it's not quite there yet. It's still got some bugs. They're still trying to update a couple features. One thing that I noticed right away is that there's no way to like really do any sort of like pixel mapping. And if you use like the MT Pro or like the Nova, you know that you can like animate individual pixels. So that's something that I think they're going to be bringing to the app in the future. But as of right now, it's not something that you can necessarily do everything with every light. But it is a really robust piece of software, and with this piece of hardware, you are able to do some really cool lighting cues, as well as just basic controls of your lights: intensity, color, temperature, color, flashes, stuff like that. But complicated stuff like pixel chases and things like that, it's coming, but it's not quite there. One thing from Aputure I was super excited about seeing was their Infinimats. When I went to Cinegear last summer in like June, July, I noticed that there was a lot of like Chinese companies, Chinese brands that were making these sort of like inflatable light fixtures. And a buddy of mine from Russia, he has the pipe light, and the pipe light is basically an inflatable light that a lot of TV and film has been using for many years. And you have an air pump and you fill it up, and it kind of like turns into like a sausage, also called a sausage light, pipe light. This company's been around for a long time, and there's been a lot of companies, specifically from like China, who are copying this sort of design. I was kind of just wondering, like, when is Aputure going to come up with their own version of this sort of like pipe light, inflatable type of a light that they can start, marketing? Here it is, a couple years later. And now Aputure is kind of doing their own thing, and they made what's called the Infinimat. The Infinimat is basically their version of a pipe light, and it's inflatable. They make smaller, like 1x1, 2x1 ones, where they have this little like air nozzle gun that'll inflate it pretty quickly. But then they have, for the larger units, they have a similar type of inflatable pump that needs to be plugged in. What's really cool about these lights, not only are they super bright, super big, super soft, but they're also waterproof. And that's one of the reasons I like using them out in the rain, out in the elements. And it's just a super robust unit that you don't really need to worry about it getting kind of used and abused out in the rain, out in the sun. And I guess you can worry about it popping, but I've never really had an issue with them popping. Most of the time when they're just kind of up in one spot, they're fine. It's more about them being rained on and protecting the ballast, I feel like. So yeah, Aputures, Infinimats, I was super excited about those. Happy that they finally released something like that. What else was on the list of things I wanted to see? Blazar. I went to the Blazar booth and I ended up winning a couple of anamorphic lenses, the 50 and the 85 from Greatjoy. So Greatjoy was a company that they started making some lenses, anamorphic lenses, really affordable anamorphic lenses, and then they kind of turned into Blazar. They like revamped their marketing. They renamed themselves Blazar. So they became Blazar. But I heard about the Greatjoy lenses when they first came out. I saw some reviews of Two Lands. He has a YouTube channel. He shoots on the Pocket 6K Pro a lot, and he made a video about the Pocket 6K Pro and how he's using these great Joy anamorphic lenses. And I remember watching like his the one video that he did with the 35, and I was like, wow, these are lenses are incredible. Never thought I would shoot on them or own them, but after winning this raffle at NAB, I ended up getting the 50 and the 85. Super stoked to shoot something on them, and then I said, hey, why not? Let's order the 35 as well, as long as, and also get the case so that I can protect them. So now I have a full set: the 35, the 50, and the 85. Each one is a little bit different, the way that they flare and the way that their characteristics and kind of the way that they interact and with each other. They're not all exactly the same. Hey, for the price, I think they're worth having in the kit. So excited to shoot some stuff for that. Maybe I'll put some stuff up on the channel featuring the Blazar or the Great Joy anamorphics. There was also their new versions, which were the Remus and the Katos. Those look really cool. They're Super 35 only. I believe that these ones, I think the Kato do full frame and the Remus are only Super 35, but they both look really, really awesome. Affordable, anamorphic lenses are hard to come by. I think what's the jump from there? You're like going right to Atlas, right? Atlas is affordable when it comes to anamorphic glass, but they're not like the cheapest option out there by any means. It's cool to start shooting some anamorphic stuff. I'm excited about that, to take advantage of some of the anamorphic modes in both the 6K Pro and also the red Helium. Maybe some of my client work, I might start shooting some anamorphic stuff. Most of the stuff I've ever done has always been aspherical. Excited to kind of get into that, get the cool blue and amber flares. I think the set that I have is amber flares, so excited to try those out. So yeah, lighting, lenses. There wasn't anything too interesting I saw as far as sound goes. I've been really loving these DJI mics, these wireless DJI mics. These have been awesome. Yeah, Deity had some cool stuff. I really like their slate and their timecode system. But yeah, I mean, they've had that for a while. That wasn't really anything new that was released or announced. Big things were cameras. Blackmagic. Blackmagic came out with a bunch of panels. They came out with the Pyxis. They came out with their 12K Ursa camera. Really impressed by the Ursa. One of the things that was kind of strange that I noticed with the Ursa is the 8 TB internal storage. So that module can come out and it can be replaced with like CF cards or like another module that will read cards. But I think for the most part, they want you to try and use that 8 TB slot as like your main media storage thing. And I was like, well, how do you read these? And the guy from Blackmagic was like, hey, you basically take these out and you put it into a 3-card reader, like a 3 SSD RAID array, and that's how you read it. I'm like, okay, so how much is this RAID array? It's probably more than the camera is, because each one of these 8 TB drives, I'm thinking to myself, okay, 8, 16, 24 TB drives, but reader, like how much is this thing? It's probably $20,000, $15,000, as much as the camera is. So I guess on a professional workflow, that's probably the way you're going to go. But I think a lot of people are not going to carry around these big bulky drives. Most ACs are going to carry like small little CF media and keep it in a little Pelican case and in their pocket or in their little satchel or something. I don't see too many camera assistants rocking around with like giant hard drives. So I'm not sure. It is cool that they made a robust media storage solution like that, but I'm not sure if it's going to integrate into production workflow in the same way that maybe they think that it is. It's cool to see that they're kind of thinking and moving in that direction. The eyepiece on the Ursa and the Pyxis are pretty cool. I think that it's really nice, really sharp. I like the buttons on the top, the programmable buttons, very much like the 6K Pro or the any of the Blackmagic cameras with programmable buttons. They really made a big deal about all their buttons on all the cameras being silent so that you can hit and push and touch all of the buttons while you're recording without making any noise. I think that's really awesome. And it's kind of cool that they're thinking in that direction. The Pyxis, what do I think of the Pyxis? The Pyxis is it's a box, man. It's a box style camera. It's what we've been asking for. We've been asking for that Pyxis. We've been asking for like a Komodo style camera from Blackmagic. We've been asking them to do something like this for a long time, and I feel like they finally like gave us that form factor. They finally gave us that you know, the box style camera. It's going to need to be rigged out. It's going to need to have a monitor. It's going to need to, you know, have a follow focus and all the rails and all the battery solution. It has CF Express Type B, which I think is pretty good as far as media goes. Has dual card slots, so that's really cool. I don't know what else are they going to do. They're using these BP batteries, which I don't think are the greatest way to go. I think that probably putting a V mount on the back of that would have been a much better solution. I feel like probably companies like Small Rig or Condor Blue are probably going to come out with some kind of a power solution for Pyxis. And there might also be like a version 2 of the Pyxis where we see ND filters integrated and maybe they have a better power solution, because I don't know how many people are really using those Sony batteries. That's probably one of the reasons I'm going to hold off on that camera, is because of the battery solution. I just don't see myself going into the whole Sony battery thing. Maybe you can use that Tilta plate and put that on the same way that you would on like a FX6. Put that into there, and then you're able to snap in some V mounts. I'm pretty much all V mounts. My red systems are all V mounts. My Blackmagic I have all with a plate on the back, and they're using V mount. Maybe in the future I might go to gold mount. It was interesting to see that the Ursa 12K actually adopted the B mount, which is the same as the Alexa, the Area 4K, the Super 35. So that one also uses B mount. So it was interesting to see that they kind of adopted that B mount, which is more professional, higher output battery solution. So that was kind of interesting to see. The higher end cameras are kind of moving towards B mount, but I'm pretty invested in V mount, the V-Lock batteries. So I think I'm going to stick with that. I got a quad charger, and that's usually what I use for most shoots to get me through the day if I'm not plugged into house power for like an interview or a talking head kind of thing. Oh, so what about the screen on the side? I think the screen on the side is a great addition. I don't think it's going to be like your main monitoring screen. I mean, even on the 6K Pro, I don't use the main screen on the camera very often. I just, maybe if I'm behind the camera operating, or if I just need to like check my settings here and there. But for the most part, I'm using an external monitor, or I'm sending the signal wirelessly. I think most professionals are not relying on any kind of screen on the body. Like my Red camera doesn't even have a screen on the body. I feel like most Red and Airy cameras don't have any screens on the body. You're going to need to put some sort of a monitoring solution on the camera or a viewfinder or something like that to see your image anyway. So the fact that Blackmagic put it in there is, just kind of a bonus. So with that being said, I think that the camera is a really great solution for $3,000. I mean, you really can't beat that. You get a full frame camera. It's 6K. It has some great frame rates. It has multiple different mounts. You have a Leica mount, the L mount. You have locking EF mount, which is really cool. And then you also have a PL mount for, your pro lenses. Yeah, man, I don't think you can really complain about this camera if you're just starting out and you're looking for a full frame cinema camera for $3,000. I think this is a no brainer. You don't want to build out your camera. You can get that other 6K full frame camera and use sort of like a DSLR sort of build quality. That's what I have in the 6K Pro, and I'm actually pretty happy with it. I like the ND filters. They're really nice to have. But, I also use NDs in front of the lens in a matte box, and I'm really, I don't mind having to do that. I've been using that kind of stuff for years, so it's not really an inconvenience to me. A lot of people say like, oh, once you have ND filters, it's hard to like go back to not having ND filters. But I don't know, internal ND filters, I mean, but I don't know. It is definitely a convenience. And if you're shooting something like documentary or stuff that's moving very quickly, you don't have time to set up. I can see that. But for the most part, most of the stuff that I shoot, I know when I'm going to shoot, where I'm going to shoot, how I'm going to shoot. I'm lighting it, and I know what T-stop I'm going to be at. I know what ND I'm going to use in camera, and I usually bring it with me. But it is nice to have it internal. I don't always have an AC with me to pull focus. So excited about some new updates to the Blackmagic 19, DaVinci Resolve 19. There's some pretty cool AI features like the automated AI voice to text, which basically transcribes everything that you're saying. You're able to like cut out all the ums and the uhs and everything out of your A-roll or out of an interview. So that's kind of cool, making a transcript. I know that Adobe and some other software has had that, but seeing it in DaVinci Resolve now and how it was integrated really well, it's just, you know, keeps DaVinci at the top, edge. I guess Adobe came out with some sort of a generative fill in video, so you're able to like create generative fill images and extend the background of your images or other parts of your video in video, not like in photo like they do in Photoshop. So that same feature they have in Photoshop, generative fill, is now in video. It's incredible. Blackmagic is going to do something like that to try to like, you know, stay up to date with them or compete with them. But I feel like Blackmagic is really doing some incredible stuff, even considering it's a free software. Like, what can you get for free software? It's like they're really doing some really cool stuff there. All in all, I was in Vegas for about 3 days. I went to the Aputure super secret dinner. That was super cool. Got to see some stuff that the Aputure was going to be releasing. They're talking about pixel mapping and being able to shoot, a clean plate and then be able to send that data over to their Infinimats, Infinibar, stuff like that, and basically pixel map video onto their fixture. So that's the future. Doing some sort of like virtual production and then being able to shoot clean plates, having that stuff on the background as well as on your actual unit being pixel mapped onto the talent. That's the future. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff, and I'm excited to start doing more virtual production and being able to, you know, pixel map into my lights. I think that's something cool, and I've been actually learning a lot about pixel mapping and researching and DMX, and yeah, I'm just excited to get on more productions where that sort of technology is needed and necessary. And yeah, it was very beneficial to go to Vegas 2024 this year and really just get to meet a lot of people and see stuff and win prizes and network and just, yeah, have a nice little vacation, a little bit of a reboot, get away from some of the production and just kind of get reinvigorated for the whole filmmaking lifestyle. And yeah, now I'm back in LA. Time to hit the ground running. And yeah, I'll try to bring you guys along on some of my other productions, show you guys some behind the scenes and what I'm doing. And yeah, that's it. All I got for you guys today. Once again, I'm Scott Stevenson. Thanks for watching. Feel free to check out my past videos as well as subscribe to see my future ones.